A franchise that we never got a continuation of, but a franchise I would have loved to see a continuation of is Prey. This is a franchise, guys, and really just one game, so I guess you can't really call it a franchise because we've only got one sample size and one game to go by. Guys, Prey was a game that came out in 2017 and had a lot of real possibility with it. I thought that it was a great game that was brought out, of course, by Bethesda as the publisher and developed by Arcane Studios. And it's really strange that we haven't seen a Prey 2, and so I want to talk about where is Prey 2 at this point, and could we potentially see a sequel at some point or another in the future? So let's talk about it. So as I said, guys, this game came out in 2017, and look, if you're a fan of this game, it was a pretty exciting game to say the least, guys. From the critical reception of this game, Prey received generally favorable reviews from critics according to review aggregator Metacritic. According to Metacritic, guys, the Metacritic scores were 82 out of 100 for PC, PS4 was 79 out of 100, and Xbox One was 84 out of 100. Critics praised the fully realized atmosphere of Talos 1, with some labeling it a luxurious sci-fi playground. On the other hand, combat proved divisive. GameSpot's Tamoor Hussain found fight sequences rewarding, while IGN's Dan Stapleton considered combat Prey's biggest weakness, partly due to periods of AI unresponsiveness. Concerning the story, GameSpot found protagonist Morgan Yu's journey somewhat thin, and trusted reviews called the storyline lacking. So look, overall, guys, there were things about this game that were certainly divisive. I would have to say that the biggest thing, in my opinion, was the combat. People just didn't really seem to enjoy it that much. I thought it was okay. I wouldn't say it was one of the best, but I thought it was an okay experience. Look, Game Informer gave it an 8.25 out of 10. GameSpot gave it a 6 out of 10, IGN an 8 out of 10, and then PC Gamer gave it a 79 out of 100. So look, at the end of the day, it got decent reviews. Obviously, better than average reviews. I mean, I would say that they were generally favorable, but there was a lot of people stating that it just wasn't good enough from a combat perspective. Now, as far as the sales go, that's really the big thing that Bethesda is going to be looking at this point. They're going to be looking at like the sales for the game. Does it justify a sequel? And they also go by critical reception, guys, but it's more so the sales. At the end of the day, it's all about money to these companies. So Prey debuted at number 2 on the weekly sales charts in the United Kingdom, trailing the Nintendo Switch port of Mario Kart 8. These figures were considered disappointing due to a lack of competition from AAA new releases, and the fact that the opening week sales were 60% down from Arcane's previous title, Dishonored 2. Additionally, Bethesda's decision to hold review copies until the official release date was mentioned by outlets as a factor for the week launch. However, Prey captured the top spot in its second week of release, besting Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a rise partially attributed to the positive reception the game received from critics, though sales were down 32% from its debut week. In doing so, Prey became the first Bethesda game since 2016's Doom to reach number 1 on the United Kingdom weekly sales charts. And then in Japan, Prey debuted at number 5 on the weekly sales charts when it released in late May, with 7,105 copies sold for the PlayStation 4. However, the Xbox One version did not make the charts. So, kind of like some red flags there. Obviously, not even making the charts for Xbox One. That's kind of usually not a good sign, guys. But all in all, it still sold well enough, in my opinion, to kind of warrant a sequel. And so, Prey 2 was a game, guys, that was going to come out. It got greenlit, and then, of course, it ended up getting canceled ultimately, guys. So, it was canceled, and maybe it was just too soon. I don't know exactly what the real reasoning, if it was just too soon or if it was, just something that the sales weren't good enough for the first game. But all in all, guys, Prey 2 was a canceled first-person shooter video game to be published by Bethesda Softworks and planned as a sequel of the 2006 video game Prey. Though Prey 2 was announced by 3D Realms in 2006, a few months after release of the first game, development work at Human Head Studios did not begin in earnest until 2009, after the rights for Prey had transferred from 3D Realms ultimately to ZeniMax Media, the parent company of Bethesda. Bethesda formally announced their title in early 2011, which revealed a change of the player's main character and of gameplay to a more open-world game. Human Head quietly ceased development on the game in late 2011 for unstated reasons, despite having progressed to a near alpha release state. Subsequently, several industrial rumors circulated that Prey 2 had been canceled or changed developers, including evidence that Arcane Studios had taken over development. Bethesda formally canceled the game in 2014, stating it was not meeting their expectations. Then later in 2016, Bethesda announced that a reboot of the franchise Prey was set for release in 2017 and was under development by Arcane, who had taken the concepts and thematic elements of Prey, but scrapped any previous work that had been done by Human Head. So what does that tell you guys? Obviously, there's been some issues. There, without a doubt, were some issues there between the developer and the publisher not really meeting eye to eye. I think it was more just maybe, kind of a collision of creative minds trying to figure out where they wanted to take the franchise. Because at the end of the day, guys, I really think that Prey has something special going on. I really do. This definitely warrants at least a sequel and maybe even a three-part trilogy at least. I don't think it should just be a standalone game by itself. In October 2014, during PAX Australia, Bethesda officially canceled Prey 2. Hines stated it was a game we believed in, but we never felt that it got to where it needed to be. We never saw a path to success if we finished it. It wasn't up to our quality standard, and we decided to cancel it. It's no longer in development. That wasn't an easy decision, but it's one that won't surprise many folks given that we hadn't been talking about it. Human Head Studios is no longer working on it. It's a franchise, and we still believe we can do something we just need to see what that something is. Tim Gerritsen, the business development director of Human Head Studios, said, while we are disappointed that we won't be able to deliver our vision of the game, we remain proud of our work on the franchise, which we feel speaks for itself, including the award-winning presentation of the game at E3 2011. We enjoyed working with the many talented people at Bethesda, and we wish them all the best of luck with any future plans they have for the franchise. And I guarantee you guys, had something to do with probably Bethesda was, obviously the overseeing, power that was probably telling Human Head, we got to get these things made and finished in a timely manner, and Human Head just wasn't able to do it, or there was collisions of creative minds. There's a lot of stuff that can go into, obviously, guys, the reasoning for a project that's being canceled. However, Bethesda announced at the press conference at the Electronic Expo, Entertainment Expo 2016 in June that they would be publishing a reboot of Prey, also titled Prey, to be developed by Arcane Studios. This game will not use any of the materials developed for Prey 2, outside of the IP and the franchise concepts. Arcane Studios CEO and director Rafael Colantonio said that at the time of completing Dishonored, they sought to do a second project alongside Dishonored 2, one that was in first person with depth and simulation and narration, and that they opted to use the Prey narrative as it matched these thematic elements well, but otherwise greatly different in gameplay. Hines added that when considering the core concept, the original 2006 Prey was about aliens chasing after the player character, they felt the name worked well for the game that Arcane had pitched, and they did not have to be beholden to retain anything else about the original game. This gave Arcane's team the freedom it needed to complete their game without needing to consider the franchise's past history. So I think at this point, guys, what we can all agree on is that this is a game that very well still might be being made. Prey 2 really could, at this point, still be in development. Haven't heard much about it. There's been a lot of talk of cancellations and things of that nature. And then, of course, reboots and so ultimately, guys, we don't really know. All we do know is that Bethesda is talking about it, and they have talked about it. We've got Arcane Studios still talking about it. I think this is a project that they really enjoy as well, an IP that they really cherish along with their Dishonored franchise. So I think that they definitely want to continue Prey. It's just how they do that, and they're probably just going to take their time with this project. But I don't think, guys, that it's all doom and gloom for Prey. I believe personally that this is a franchise that is definitely going to be coming out in the future. I think that there is a fan base for this game. Without a doubt, I thought it was actually a really underrated experience in my opinion. I thought it was pretty, there was definitely some very freaky moments in the game. I thought it was actually a pretty good shooter. I know that some of the combat was kind of, kind of wacky at times, but at the same time, guys, it's the first game in this hopeful franchise. And so, look, sometimes you do got to get it right. But a lot of times you just got to get the concepts right. You got to get the story, and you got to get those things right to bring people back to the franchise. And I think they did enough of that to warrant a sequel. So at this point, guys, we don't know really much else if Prey 2 is actually in development or if it's completely canceled, if it's in a hiatus state. We don't really know, guys. All we do know is that Arcane Studios as well as Bethesda have mentioned talks of Prey 2. And that, guys, is very reassuring. If you're a massive Prey fan, we very well might be seeing a Prey 2 in the foreseeable future. But let me know what you guys think. What would you guys want to see different and similar to Prey 1 in Prey 2? Let me know in the comment section below. And for me, guys, what the things that I want to see, I obviously want to see kind of more of the same, just obviously updating, the combat mechanics and things of that nature, and some of the AI, and what the AI does, and obviously, improving on the multiplayer experiences and adding like co-op experiences. More and more ways that you can connect with the franchise is absolutely what I want for this franchise. But let me know, like I said, guys, what you want to see in this franchise moving forward. And for more Prey 2 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.